Trauma time! There is only one fighter in the UFC that can stop this Dagestani takeover. If you've been watching the UFC for the last few years, you have noticed the insane increase in fighters from the Russian territories. We call them Dagestans. And there's a good reason why they're taking over the UFC. Because of their fight style and the way they train. All of these fighters from the northeastern region of Europe have an insane fight style, and they all love to wrestle. They love to pressure you, put you up against the cage, and take you down relentlessly. And that is why every time you see a Dagestan fighter in the UFC compete against another fighter, they almost always dominate. Just to put this into perspective for you guys, within the top 7 of the pound for pound rankings itself, there are 3 Dagestani fighters. Islam Makhachev at number 1, Belal Muhammad at number 5, and Merab Dvalishvili at number 7. What do they all have in common? They will wrestle fuck you to death. Another insane thing to note that I did research on is that within every single male weight class in the UFC, there is a Dagestani fighter within the top 5. Now, like I said, there is no coincidence that with the way they train and the way they fight, they are absolutely dominating the UFC, and up to this point, there has been no fight style that seems to be able to counter it. Before this ruthless Dagestani takeover, we had Sean O'Malley as a champion, we had Charles Oliveira as a champion, and we had Leon Edwards as a champion. But none of these greats, after going up against a Dagestani contender, survived the vicious onslaught. With all of this complete domination taking place, it is not going unnoticed, and that's why a lot of UFC fans are speculating that there is one fighter who can restore order within the UFC. As UFC fans, we need to stop pushing the narrative that American wrestling is a solution to Russian freestyle wrestling. There is no comparison. Just take Sean O'Malley for an example. When he went up against Aljamain Sterling, he got knocked out unconscious. And that is because American wrestlers don't have these smooth wrestling entries that these Dagestani fighters have. Just look at Khamzat Chimaev. The way he attacks your legs in a sudden movement, there is no chance for you to land a strike like Sean did on Aljamain Sterling. They are merciless. American fighters are too pretty. These Dagestani fighters are ruthless. They wrestle bears and they climb mountains for a living to get in shape. And so this notion that a purebred American wrestler such as Bo Nickel is the guy to take down Khamzat or any other Dagestani wrestler is nonsense. Because the pressure that these Dagestans put on you, it is not just wrestling. It is a whole fundamental understanding of the MMA game. American wrestlers, you look at them, all they can do is wrestle. They just don't have the clinch awareness and overall MMA IQ to put it all together like these Russian freestyle wrestlers. Not that I need to further support my claim of American wrestling not getting it done. Just look at Usman versus Khamzat. Usman got dominated even though he was the best wrestler in the UFC for years on years. It stood no chance against Khamzat Chimaev's freestyle wrestling aggression. And so with that being said, if American wrestling is not the solution, then what is? Insert Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is the last champion that will have to face a Dagestani wrestler. All of the other greats have fallen in very, very sad fashion. Magomed Ankalaev is a wrestling heavy fighter who also has very crisp and sharp striking. Seemingly the downfall for an Alex Pereira who does not have a wrestling history. The reason UFC fans don't put Alex Pereira in the #1 pound for pound ranking list is because he is not tested against a fighter such as Magomed Ankalaev. In UFC history, this style of fighting has perfectly countered a striking technician such as Alex Pereira. But here is why I believe Alex Pereira will be the one anomaly to put an end to all of this. And how he's gonna do it? Let's talk about the matchup itself. Ankalaev, very tall, lengthy, sturdy fighter. Alex Pereira, more lengthy, more skinnier, more tall, striking technician. So when you put that together, most UFC fans will say that Ankalaev will pressure him against the cage, smother him, take him down, and finish him, or go to a decision. Here is what I think. I believe that the only base of MMA that can beat a Dagestani freestyle wrestler is a leg kick specialist, someone who can quickly chop off the roots of the tree. If you take away the power in their legs quickly, they will not be able to shoot on you with such relentlessness and ease. But not only a leg kick specialist, you also need someone who is tall, lengthy, and a distance management expert. Someone who can chop away at their legs while also keeping their distance and staying calculated and away from the danger of a takedown. All of this describes Alex Pereira. And that is why I believe he is the last resistance to a complete Dagestan UFC takeover. All we can do now as UFC fans is believe in Alex Pereira and his Chama magic that he will put an end to all of this madness.